Um, can you see my screen?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
yeah. Please go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Please go to screen show. Yeah.
yeah. So hi, good morning. Presenting regarding the long-term outcomes of choroidal detachment in post-trabeculectomy eyes. Um, no financial disclosures. So trabeculectomy is one of the most common performed surgeries for glaucoma. They have, however, been noted to have intraoperative and postoperative serous choroidal detachments, which are likely to occur after surgery. And the reported rates range from 7.9 to 8.8%. The early postoperative hypotony and choroidal detachments, they have shown to cause shallow anterior chamber and surgical failure following the trabeculectomy, yet there's scant literature noted regarding its long-term outcomes. We hence aim to assess the long-term outcomes of choroidal detachments in post-trabeculectomy eyes. This was a retrospective non-comparative study where data was retrieved from 45 patients who developed choroidal detachment post-trabeculectomy, either primary trabeculectomy with mitomycin C or along the trabeculectomy done with cataract surgery. The duration was between January 2014 and December 2019. The indication was mainly patients who had uncontrolled glaucoma on maximum tolerated medical therapy and those who had established glaucomatous optic neuropathy with visual fields. Um, um, the inclusion criteria was mainly patients who developed choroidal detachment after trabeculectomy with mitomycin C, those who had phacoemulsification with trabeculectomy with mitomycin C, or small incision cataract surgery with trabeculectomy and mitomycin C. And those who had more than 1 month follow-up were included as well, and those with the lesser follow-up were excluded. So a complete eye evaluation was done. The follow-up was mainly from postoperative day 1 and then 15, followed by 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, and the final visit. The outcomes were noted as the IOP outcomes and the visual acuity outcomes at each visit. As the coming to the results, there were 45 patients who were included in the study, and the male to female ratio was 17:7. The age range was from 13 to 75 years of age. The patients had a mean follow-up of 22 months. The most common type of glaucoma was the open angle glaucoma, and which was seen in around 19 patients. I'm sorry, that is the second most common. The most common was angle closure, which was seen 23. The second most common was open angle. And the third most common was urexfoliation glaucoma. The other demographic parameters were diabetes was seen in around 18 patients, hypertension in 18. The pre-op medication was approximately 2 medication. The most common refractive error was astigmatism in these patients. Around 97% were phakic at the time of glaucoma surgeries. 18 eyes had a shallow anterior chamber preoperatively, and 23 eyes had laser peripheral iridotomy. Coming to the anesthesia, 22 eyes received a peribulbar block, 21 eyes received a retrobulbar block, and only 2 had subtenous anesthesia. So out of the 45 eyes, 23 underwent phacotrabeculectomy, 16 underwent plain trabeculectomy with mitomycin C, and 6 underwent small incision cataract surgery with trabeculectomy. 42 patients had 3 scleral flap sutures, and 18 eyes had 1 releasable sutures. There were no intraoperative complications documented. The mitomycin C concentration ranged from a 0.4 to 0.2 milligram per ml, and 20 had injection of mitomycin C, and 25 eyes had a sponge application. So coming to choroidal detachment, the mean time for detection was around 16 days. 38 eyes had a large diffuse bleb at the time of presentation. There were no bleb leaks noted at that time, and 3 eyes developed choroidal detachment post-releasable suture removal. 10 eyes developed choroidal detachment after laser suture lysis, and the mean IOP at the time of the choroidal detachment was around 4 millimeters of mercury, and the mean visual acuity was a logMAR 0.60. Regarding the management, all the eyes are managed conservatively with topical steroids, cycloplegic agents, and oral steroids. However, intrametal dexamethasone was intramuscular dexamethasone was additionally given in about 8 patients. Regarding the ones who needed intervention, 4 eyes, that is 8% patients who didn't respond to conservative management, who had kissing choroidals on ultrasound B scan, underwent choroidal drainage with anterior chamber reformation. The intraocular pressure significantly increased from a mean of 3 millimeters of mercury to 13 in these 4 patients. However, the visual acuity remained unchanged in 2 patients at the final visit. So the IOP outcomes was the IOP presentation, which was 28 millimeters of mercury. This was the visual acuity outcomes, which was significantly better as compared to the visit at the CD. This was just a bit of a discussion. This has been assessed in eyes with POAG and exfoliation glaucoma and other studies. The mean age has been reported by these studies was slightly comparable to ours. There were more males than females. They had a higher preoperative intraocular pressure than ours. The mean preoperative IOP had ranged from 30, which was slightly higher as compared to ours was 28. Overall laser suture lysis rates were higher in other studies as compared to ours. The mean number of days from choroidal detachment ranged from 6 days to around 7.9 days, which was comparable. The mitomycin C, however, was 0.4 milligram per ml for 4 minutes. And just the merits and limitations. The merits was this was a large sample size, but relatively rare complication. Long-term follow-up was there. The limitations was its retrospective nature, multiple surgeons performing the procedure, and absence of a comparable group which could have ascertained any risk factors. So to conclude, the choroidal detachment is a relatively rare complication post-trabeculectomy. Although medical management is the mainstay, long-term follow-up is essential to prevent chronic hypotony. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sanjana. Any questions from our co-chairs and convener?
Dr. Rao?
Yes, please.
Did you do ultrasound for each and every patient, or it was just a clinical diagnosis of CD only?
It was mainly it was a retrospective study. So data was just retrieved from the patients who had choroidal detachment, and so it was not really done for each and every patient. So the ones I think at the time of they had the choroidal detachment, it was done as a screening sort of a method to rule out kissing choroidals. So it was probably just done at one visit for all the patients.
Okay. So
any time when okay.
Any relation you found between the size of CD and your final IUP level?
With the size, not exactly. Actually, most of the patients, they had at least around 2 quadrants of choroidal detachment, and they had low IOPs to present with, but the IOP subsequently improved towards the last visit anyway, irrespective of the size of the CD.
Okay.
Any relation with the time removal of lysis of the sutures or removal of sutures?
Actually, yeah. So they out of in our study, we found that the median time was around 16 days usually, and that's the time when all the suture lysis and the wound modulation happens. So in between that time, there were a couple of patients who had laser suture lysis. So they were 10 of them who had choroidal detachment after laser suture lysis during that time.
Any difference between the injectable and the non-injectable, the sponge application mitomycin?
Yeah. So actually, in our study, there was the sponge they were kind of equal number of eyes actually served. 25 had sponge application and 20 had injection.
Which had more choroidals?
We basically didn't randomize them into, we didn't put into 2 groups as such to see that, but it was almost equal numbers who had that.
It will be interesting to know whether the injectable technique, which many of us are following, is there a difference in choroidal rate of choroidal?
Yes, that will be quite interesting to find out, but we didn't really see correlate the choroidals with.
Thank you, Dr. Sanjana. I think in the interest of time,